This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, guys. Myself, Ravinder. I'm working as SQL DBA last 14 years, and I'm working as a Azure SQL DBA close to 7 years now. And I do work on MongoDB and Postgres as well. Along with this, I do work on AWS Cloud as well, along the Azure Cloud. This is a little intro about myself. Let's get into the actual discussion. What's going to happen in the class today? So introduction to the cloud. So basically, why we need to learn cloud now. So why these are getting popularized and everybody implementing. What are the benefits people are getting by implementing the cloud? And like everybody need to hide this profile into their working profile nowadays. Why it is so? What are the reasons? That is the main focus of agenda that we're going to discuss. First, let's talk about on-prem. What are the like challenges people are facing to maintain the on-prem data centers, and how the cloud is easing out that challenges we're going to talk about, so that you understand what is the current importance of cloud technologies in the market. In fact, so we will talk about the rest as well, like what was there before cloud and how virtualization actually changed the entire server stack implementation, all that. And we're going to discuss about cloud deployments and benefits. This is where we're going to spend more time, in fact. So what exactly what are the basic things that are actually benefiting the people to move to the cloud, that we're going to spend more time on this part, okay? And why we need to learn Azure when we have different cloud technologies. That also I'm going to pick it up. And then again, what are the certification you can take after this exam, this course also, we'll see that, okay? So first let's focus on the on-prem data. Then I'll slowly move to the cloud side. So to build on-prem data centers, in fact, they need to have dedicated space for keeping the server safe somewhere. This must be defined by the companies people. They have to keep the data center location where it is absolutely safe against the natural calamities. And it must be investigated thoroughly before they deploy the data center against the any unforeseen situations, in fact. So they need separate space, of course. You don't sit just beside the server and work on it. So it will be somewhere deployed and you connect remotely and start working on that. And this must be dedicated. And no, even the company employee is also not allowed unless until there is authorized email or authorized person is giving you something to enter into data center to repair it, kind of thing. And as you don't sit just beside the server, you operate from somewhere and you keep the server somewhere. You need to have proper connectivity and bandwidth capability to push the data and get the data out of the data center. So bandwidth must be subscribed through third party vendor or yourself. You can lay out if required, but mostly it goes to third party vendors. And you must have a at least redundant link with your data center if one provider is down for any situations, because of any unforeseen situations it happens, like fiber cuts and all that, because of the road work, because of any civil work. In fact, it happens sometimes. So you need to have another standby provider connectivity to the data center, so that you can seamlessly access your data. That is must be maintained by the companies itself when they maintain the on-prem data centers. Software licenses. So to run the business, everything is on softwares, and some softwares are licensed, some softwares are freewares, and depends, but you have to maintain the licensing. You have to pay yearly all the licensing to renew your softwares, in fact. So that must be tracked, and how much of licensing footprint is going on in the infrastructure. Time to time, the on-prem people need to be tracking and then paying out on time to renew the softwares, in fact. Extremely redundant power source. See, data centers can lose the power because of the huge rains or heavy rains and floods in that area, because of the power outages happen. And it can be due to any strikes in the area. Anything that is unforeseen situations can happen. In that case, you need to have a sufficient power backup, like UPS systems or diesel generators, so that you can immediately, servers won't, should not be stopped for any reason. In fact, you cannot go to the business that my data center is impacted because of the floods, because of some power cut and all that. The end user, what he wanted is data all the time, and all his services need to be online. So there are many competitors for any business. In fact, you cannot give efficiently your services, immediately you lose your customers. So that should not happen. So for that reason, they have to look at all the possible power backups they need to have, even if the power cut happens. dust-free controlled environment within the data centers. Within the inside that data center building, or the way the racks are placed, you should not have any dust around it. Okay, it should be absolutely dust free environment. If that is the case, servers will run 365 days 24 by 7. So it will accumulate the dust from the atmosphere, and then when you restart, you don't restart. You have to go on and pull out that RAM and clear it out. You would have seen that in your laptops also. It will give a beep sound and never come online. You have to clean up that and then switch on the server, then it comes online. So for that reason, they should be absolutely dust-free environment. And efficient cooling and ventilation system. So cooling definitely required, because when the devices are running continuously, they generate a lot of heat. In fact, you have to maintain certain temperature, else the circuits will break and then it will corrupt. In fact, right?
Hi,
So
Ravi.
hey, hi.
Yeah,
Yep,
actually, I will just started it.
I just started few minutes ago. You can catch it up. It is
Actually,
recording. In fact, okay.
okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah. It's okay. I just started anyway. I mean, it's 12 minutes, right? So we started just a few minutes back. Right. So
okay,
cooling system must be maintained. Without the cooling systems, the temperature will beyond certain temperature, circuits won't sustain. So you have to maintain certain temperature within the data center to keep them cool all the time. So air ventilation as well as cooling system must be maintained up to the threshold. And high physical security, no one should enter your data center unless there is a proper authorization, given from the management. In fact, inter data center connectivity, so we cannot rely on a single data center. You must have one more DR data center where you have to replicate all of your data there. In case of primary data center is down for any earthquake, any floods, maybe fire, whatsoever, you cannot expect, right? If you lose your data, you lose your business. As simple as it is. That's how the business runs, right? So you definitely need to have another standby data center where you can keep your data safe, so that you can survive with your business. In fact, right? To maintain all this, it definitely expensive. It is not cheap. In fact, all these maintenance activities for any company nowadays. So these are the challenges people do face to maintain the on-prem data centers. So the alternate solution is a cloud. How cloud is actually overrating all these maintenance activities, we'll see in the next slides, upcoming slides. Okay. So these are all you have to keep in mind, that to maintain on-prem data center, it's not that easy to keep it, running all the time. Then what was there before cloud? Okay, cloud is now ready-made solution. You can keep your data in the cloud and you can operate from anywhere. In fact, doesn't matter as long as your network is allowed. But what was there before cloud? There used to be managed service people. They still exist in the market, of course, but these people existence is very limited in the market. They don't have like super infrastructure around the world. They do have the infrastructure in a region based, like one region they cover up and the other region they don't, because they are very local. In fact, in terms of services. So this kind of services there since very very long. In fact, you know what these people do, they will have a server infrastructure, and if you wanted to run your any IT services, you have to go and ask them, like, I need these many servers for my services, and please create these many services and keep them in a private subnet or private network and give me the access and all that. So they will do that. They'll do right from the provisioning to the end of the support. Like, they'll take the server backups, uptime. You don't need to maintain anyone at all. They will take care everything about your server infrastructure, and you have to just take the services. So that's how the managed services do work. Cloud is not like that. You deploy and you operate it the way you wanted, and you manage it the way you wanted. But here they don't give any access to anyone directly to the backend infrastructure. They maintain it, and you have to take the services from the whatever the service you are actually asked for. So this kind of services was there before the cloud, and even they still exist in the market, but not widely compared to cloud because of the limitance of their infrastructure. Virtualization. Virtualization is also one of the biggest revolution into IT industries in terms of infrastructure deployments. Because before the virtualization, what used to happen, you have a very big server to serve your application at any point of time to take the peak load. What about the non-peak hours? Definitely, you might have certain peak days in the year, but not all the days, all the time of the day. So in that case, you create a big server and create the tiny small servers on top of the big server, and then use them. So if one of this, definitely one of the server using the resources there. In fact, right? So for maintenance activities or regular business activities whatsoever, you are trying to keep all the hardware all the time busy, engaged. Okay, if it is a one machine and you created without virtualization and it is can sustain during the peak hours, but what about the rest of the hours? You are not taking the computing power, in fact. So that's not an efficient way of implementing it. That's where the VMware actually help the people. Like, you can build a big server. On top of that, you can create a lot of servers as a virtual VMs, in fact, and then operate from there, so that you are utilizing underlying infrastructure at most at maximum times. Okay, so that you can get the maximum benefit. This is absolutely implemented by everyone in the market. So why people are rapidly moving towards the things, new changes? Because it is saving the money, in fact. So wherever we can save the money, definitely everyone, businesses are doing for getting the money from the market, in fact. And whatever the money they are getting, they wanted to save maximum. They don't want invest unnecessarily somewhere. If they can maintain things at lower cost, definitely they'll think of it and they'll move it eventually. That's what is happening. That's how the VMware is introduced in 1999. In fact, it is implemented in 2000, but now everything is virtualized. It can be on-prem, it can be cloud, absolutely virtualized. Physical could be 1% maybe. Still, people are using legacy applications. There they might be running physical, but everything is virtual for sure.
Yeah.
Right. We
So
will
one
enter
question.
into.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ravindra,
please go ahead.
yeah, can you give me some more example of this virtualization? One example, just understanding.
Understanding in the
Advantage. Yeah.
advantage in the sense utilizing the physical resources that what you have it. For example, you take
Yeah.
it supermarket, just take it a supermarket business. They have a server. Okay,
Mhm.
so they are not utilizing the servers during the night. They only utilize the server during the billing hours, right?
Yes.
Other
Yeah.
time they don't use it at all. So that entire night time, one dedicated server, you kept it and it is not at all being used. Maybe you are using maintenance activities, but that is not taking the load entirely. So
Hmm.
when you create a tiny machines on top of it, multiple purposes, then it definitely spams the computing power across from all the VMs. So you're utilizing whatever the resource deployed at most. So that's what actually VMware is going to help, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So fine. So let's move on. So if you go to the, what is cloud computing exactly? So cloud computing is something, you don't keep the data on your laptop. You keep our laptop or server or whatsoever. You keep it in the cloud and you operate from there. So you something you are acquiring or buying some server in the cloud and keeping it in the private network and accessing through the authorized networks that we're going to see in and out. I'm going to show that from the on-prem we can access, from anywhere we can access it. How we can access it, I'm going to talk about that in the course anyway. So there are hundreds of definitions for this. Just let's talk about it. So it is a use of remote servers on the internet, store, manage, and process the data rather than keeping your physical server. In fact, okay, it is not on your machines. It is there someone else's machines, and that can be absolutely protected in many directions. And we're going to talk about that. Cloud computing is a delivery of on-demand computing resources over the internet on pay-per-use basis. So it is like a rental basis. How much you are using it, and based on that you will pay it. Example, I need 10 servers. I need only for a few months because I'm going to give the service for a few months. Then I'll absolutely switch off my business because that is a seasonal business. After that, I don't have any business. Absolutely, I don't need it. So I'll run for that period and then shut it off after that. So how many days you're using? In fact, it is a per minute billing model it follows. If I'm using 10 minutes, I'll pay for 10 minutes only. If I'm using 1 hour, I'll pay for 1 hour only. So that way you can save money, and by using only on demand basis. Example, e-commerce businesses, when they release a big billion days, they do get unexpected traffic, in fact, because they don't know how many people are going to hit from how many regions, in fact. So how do they scale up with the load? Actually, in the cloud, things will automatically scale based on the load. If this current server is not actually scaling up with the current load, the standby service will automatically create and the distribution will happen automatically, and then it will scale automatically. So how that happens also we'll see in the class. In fact, I'm going to show that in practical how the auto scale can work on the on-demand load. Basically, based on the conditions, it will create the servers automatically and distribute the load also automatically. We'll see that. And cloud deployment models. This is very important, guys. Public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud. Public cloud is open for anyone. Whoever have just a credit card, they can create the subscription and create any service they wanted. Absolutely, it is open for anyone in the world. You are a hacker, you are a good purpose, bad purpose, whatsoever. They'll give the computing services. Okay, you just go and subscribe and build it. It's open for anyone in the world. Just absolutely, it's not restricted for anyone. Private cloud, why we are calling it as a cloud? So as I said, you don't sit just beside the server, you operate from the operation center. Server infrastructure is deployed somewhere, you're connecting over the internet. So everything that you connect through over the internet is a private, in fact, cloud in fact. So a company owned data centers called as private clouds. In fact, the company is owning it and they don't give the access to anyone else other than their company infrastructure network. No one can enter into that network. Absolutely blocked and placed all the firewalls on all the endpoints to protect the infrastructure. It is only for the one single organization. It's a proprietary and will be used for that company only. It's not a shared kind of thing. Okay. So hybrid cloud is a combination. So what we are operating right now in our company is a hybrid cloud. We have 40% roughly on-prem, 60% of the infrastructure in the cloud. In fact, we have both the combinations running for the same projects. In fact, so that kind of in environments called hybrid clouds because they're using the combinations. In fact, both. It's not purely cloud. It's not purely on-prem. It is a combination of it. Okay. So this kind of environments are called hybrid clouds. Private clouds are owned by single organization. In fact, public cloud can be, it is open for anyone in the world. Whoever have internet and credit card, they can absolutely subscribe and do anything that they wanted. All right, what are the different categories of cloud services we do have? So this is very important, guys. We have a SaaS services, PaaS services, IaaS services. In fact, what exactly the SaaS? SaaS is something ready to use softwares. You cannot do anything on top of that service. As a DBA, your role is absolutely zero. It is a fully pre-deployed service and pre-configured as per the best standards, and there is no scope to change anything. It is absolutely just create and use it. So the best examples are Gmail. What do? Anyone can go and create a Gmail on the fly, and using the Gmail they can send an email, receive the email, and all that on the fly. Like no one is approving it. You just give your details, date of birth, and then you verify your details, and then that's it. You can use it. Go to meeting. I just given a link to all of you, and then you all joined. You did not do anything. Even I did not do anything. I just created a link. And who is managing it? The provider is managing it. And if you talk about all Google Play Store apps, you don't do anything. It's a WhatsApp. What do? You'll install and you'll give your mobile number, OTP. That's it. After that, you don't need to do anything. You use the WhatsApp straight away. So anything, the software which comes under as ready to use, and you don't have to do anything, or someone else have to do anything. Directly, the users can use it. So where there is a zero administration almost, that kind of services comes under SaaS. In fact, they are readily deployed and they are something you cannot change it. It is already running with the standards. So the best examples are Gmails, Outlook, and your all Play Store apps, and even in GoToMeeting link also comes under SaaS service. In fact, because nothing I am doing or you're doing it, it is already done. And we are just using it, that service. So anything that comes under ready to use softwares, that comes under SaaS. PaaS. PaaS is like a service which runs on top of the cloud without a VM, and you do have all the administrative powers to scale up a service. In fact, I am running a SQL Server service which is not coping up with the current load, then I can increase the power, I can decrease the power. In fact, okay, I can define my backup strategies. Backup strategies you cannot define for the PaaS model. Basically, it is absolutely taken by them. You can define your security model, you can define who can access, who should not access, the networking model, and you can build your own DR, I mean the load balancing patterns, whatever you wanted. You can do your own maintenance activities like indexing, creating and dropping and rebuilding updates, all that you have to do. There are a lot of scope for the administration here in the PaaS model. Not too much, but yes, we do have 50% of the work is with us, and it runs on top of the cloud without a VM. You don't have any control to stop the service. You create a PaaS SQL server, you don't have a choice to stop the service. It runs 24/7, and there is no option given to stop, in fact. Then IaaS, infrastructure as a service. Okay, infrastructure as a service is something you create a VM. Within the VM, whatever you do, it is none of the Microsoft business. They will give you a VM with whatever the operating system, whatever the size you wanted to create it. Once it is created, what you do inside it, you install SQL Server, you install app service, you install whatever the requirement that you have it doesn't matter for them. They'll give a VM object. Whatever you do within the VM object, that comes under IaaS model, in fact. So IaaS is something you have a lot of control. In fact, you can patch your SQL server, you can upgrade your SQL server, you can, like schedule your backups on the SQL server. You have full control on it. You can stop the VM, you can start the VM whenever you wanted. In the patch model, you don't have all of that. You don't need to patch the server, you don't need to upgrade the server. It'll auto upgrade, auto patch, everything is auto. You don't have to worry about. But if it is a VM, you have the full administration control like on-prem, except it's a cloud VM. Once the VM is given, you install, you operate, you protect in terms of security, backups, recovery wise, everything is our job. Okay. So if you compare it, let's see the diagrammatic thing, how it actually, if it is on-prem, you are absolutely owner of everything, every single action that infrastructure need, in fact. If it is infrastructure as a service, networking, you don't have to worry. Absolutely, you don't have to worry. You create your own networking model. That network, whatever you created, underlying links are absolutely maintained by the Microsoft. You don't have to worry. Even if link is broken, you have to go to them and get it rectified. Storage, you don't have to worry about joining the LUNs and projecting as a logical volume or giving it on the VMs. You don't have to worry about. You just give the number. Like I have 200 GB to 500 GB, I wanted to change. Make the 200 to 500 and save it. That's it. It'll extend. So how much of LUNs are joined in the background to give that physical storage? You don't have to worry about. It is seamlessly happen in the background. You don't own that area at all. Server and server standards of virtualization, you don't have to do anything. You just choose the operating system what you wanted, what size you wanted, and what are the disk layout you wanted. That's it. You will choose what you wanted, but the VMs will get created with as per the standards of their software, what it is going to virtualize. Okay. And the virtualization also, you don't have any control. Absolutely, you have only control on what operating system you wanted on the VM. That's it. And the computing model, all that we'll talk about. Platform as service, you don't have a voice, like it is absolutely to the 19 OS and SQL Server to the 19. You cannot choose lower versions at all. All past SQL servers will create with the absolutely to the 19. There is no scope to choose what version you wanted. Absolutely. Okay. We'll talk about that. If you don't want to the 19, you cannot go to the past. You definitely have to go to the IA service and build a VM, install what version you wanted, and operate. That way it is. So runtime also, you cannot manage it. You cannot stop the SQL Server database, or you cannot stop the SQL Server service in the PaaS model. It runs 24/7 and you don't have any control. When we don't have any control, how do we do the maintenance activities? Yes, we will discuss about it in clearly in the course anyway. So software as a service, you don't have, absolutely don't have any control, and zero administrative scope there, because they are fully deployed services. You don't have to worry about that. Okay. This is the main discussion for us, guys. This is where we're going to spend a lot of time now. In fact, what are the cloud benefits? Why people are moving to the cloud, and what are the major benefits they are gaining out of the cloud by moving there, right? This is the main agenda for us to understand overall, in fact. Okay, pay attention. Cost. For any company, revenue is very important. Revenue, whatever the money they are gaining from the market, they wanted to save in all aspects, so that they can show the good results to the market. When they show the good results, they can get the good share price, will have spiked up, and then they get the good inflow, money of inflow, then the company will expand a lot. So cost is one of the primary benefit. People will change the, like the implementations in the market, in fact. So if at all, if I'm building my own data center today, and I'm deploying my all data into my own data center, my servers infrastructure will definitely outdate in next 5 to 10 years maximum. I cannot use this same server for more than 10 years. Why? Because the hardware, what you have, the data, what it comes in every day is doesn't match after 10 years. In fact, it won't scale with the current data model, the old hardware. You need a sophisticated hardware to process the largest data sets, in fact, right? So your infrastructure always will get outdated after within maximum of 10 years span. You invested 100% money and you have to replace the entire infrastructure to operate with the latest softwares with the best hardware specs, right? So whatever the money you are investing today, within 10 years or 5 to 10 years maximum, you have to reinvest entirely. It is absolutely required to scale with the data growth, because data in every segment is growing like anything, absolutely out of control. We are working in any of the, you all are DBS anyway. So day by day data is growing. When the data is growing, your server power need to be scaled up. When even if it is scaled up, it has to be higher class hardware. Like every year, every here and then, people are releasing new version with the best standards, with the best processing power and all that. You have to go to that to get the data processing done with a good performance, right? So why I'm stressing all of this, in fact, if you go to the cloud, if I need 10 servers today, after 10 years and this is not working for me, or 2 years itself it is not working for me, I can create standby servers. I'll migrate all my data. I'll destroy the old one. I'm just paying again to the 10 servers. I'm not paying to the old. I did not invested on that. I just only took the servers on rental basis. I'm running it. I can destroy it whenever I wanted. I'll pay till that time only. So down the line, cloud absolutely will help them to not to reinvest on entire thing, in entire stack. Not only it is easing out the infrastructure side, infrastructure maintenance people also it is easing out. If the data center they have to build it, I discussed in the first slide itself what are the big challenges they have to face to maintain the data center with all the things that they wanted, like dedicated housing, bandwidth, software, power sources they need to have, and efficient cooling system they will have to maintain, DR they have to maintain, and they have to maintain physical security with the guns to protect your data center against the unauthorized people. Usual thing. It's not simple, right? So cloud computing is eliminating the capital expense of the companies of buying hardware, software, setting up, running on-prem data centers. They don't need to maintain the infrastructure, licenses, bandwidth, air conditioning, or anything. Just they deploy it and they use it. And then any big server you wanted, it will just deploy in maximum of 3 to 5 minutes. Maximum of 3 to 5 minutes. If it is like on-prem model, what happens if my infrastructure is filling it out and then I need some more servers? What people do generally, they go to the procurement team will contact the like accounting team will approve the request, then procurement team will go to the vendor, place the configuration what they wanted, the vendor build the server according to the need, then they'll give it to the infra team will plug the server, install this operating system, plug the server into network, then they'll come to us to install the required. So there is a lot of processes involved for getting a new infrastructure. If it is a cloud, it's not like that. So one click away, it's required. You build it and you use straight away with whatever licenses, what are the softwares you wanted. So that way, the cloud is making your infrastructure benefited from the cost point of view down the line, as well as the deliveries of the the deliverables will become easy, in fact. Okay. And global scale, this is another one of the biggest thing, why the cloud is implemented. So you cannot operate in one country, right? When you are growing in terms of in all aspects, you have to expand your business. You do first initially in one country, then you expand your business to a lot of different countries and continents. When this happen, you cannot go on every region and build a data center here, right? It's not simple. Actually, it is not cost effective. You have to invest a lot of money, in fact.
So
So when
Ravindra,
yeah, go ahead.
uh, we can connect it any corner of world, right?
Yes. Mhm.
We can
Connectivity
connect
can,
our cloud any corner
you
of
just
world.
you
Yeah.
just need to have internet, and your network need to be allowed. How it happens, I'm going to talk in practical. All the things I'm going to whatever I'm saying in the class, we will see in every
So
class is like a workshop anyway. I'm going to cover in practical all of that.
network need to be allowed. It means on the particular servers, which are cloud, which are environment, that
Hmm.
need to be allowed from India, from Russia, from China,
No,
like
no, no, no.
something like this.
It's about the IP. like what IPs you wanted to. It's region based also we can restrict. Basically, they'll go with IP based. What IPs are, what range of IPs are allowed to connect and allowed to enter into the infrastructure. We'll talk about that. Don't worry. Okay.
Got
We will.
it. Got it. Got it. It is something like infra only. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll talk about in practical how things really work. I'm going to really build a corporate, like how the corporates implement the infrastructure. We will see in real time how it really happens. I'm going to show that in practice with the VPN. I'll show you how do you build your own VPN software and make a secure connection also. Tunnels. How do we form that? We're going to see that in one class. Don't worry. So here, see guys, so global scale. One company is actually cannot operate in one country itself when they're growing really big. They have to expand their business to different countries. When they expand to different countries, they cannot operate from one everything kept in one region and serving the data to all the remote regions of the world absolutely is not effective because it has to travel through all over the globe in fact to get the serve the data. That will definitely delay will be there. If there is too much delay, people don't subscribe your company services in fact. So you have to build your data centers nearest to that operation center in fact, right? So that you can give the data retrieval will be very faster. In fact, you'll get a good performance. But building a data center is not easy thing. So that's where the cloud is giving a ready-made solution to everyone in the market now. Whenever they're expanding it, anything that they wanted as a new thing, they are not building their own data center. Absolutely cloud, everywhere cloud. Okay. When they wanted to plan something new because and they cannot go and invest directly straight away, like I'll create infrastructure here in it is example Australia, this is US, this is India, assume a case, and I'll operate here and then I can make a connection in the backend network using the private only. You don't need to travel through public network, in fact, though it is a different regions. So how it encrypts the data, how it communicate over the private networks, I'm going to talk about that. Here one network, it is different, all are in different networks. Still, you can make them to communicate easily. How it happens, we're going to see in practical. What is a takeaway from here is global scale becoming easy with a cloud implementation for any company, in fact. They don't need to create their own data centers and invest a lot of money. Directly create the services in that region, integrate with their current network, and then it will communicate to the backend data center where they have most of the data. And you are serving the data again to the local business from the local right geographic location. So that way you are getting the good performance, in fact. So ability to scale elastically, delivering the right amount of right resources when it's needed from the right geographic location. So you are giving the data services from the region, from the people where they are actually operating with the data. You're not creating one global scale, one global data center and then not serving it. If that doesn't definitely work, in fact. Okay. So you have to have a proper performance levels. To have that, you need to definitely have that level of infrastructure near to your operation center. This is one of the important metric that people are moving to the cloud side. Performance obviously needed in terms of see one thing I wanted to say that before cloud there in the market, if you are SME, subject matter expert in one technology, you used to have a good value in the market. Now you are purely SQL DBA, you don't have any cloud expertise, but you're an on-prem SQL, you have a 100% knowledge on that, still you don't have a good value in the market. You need to have a cloud, you need to have other technologies into your profile and all that. It is happened after the cloud implementation only. Why it is so? Because you don't need to maintain a lot of things. It is maintained by the cloud providers, in fact. So when they are maintaining things on their own and giving you the services where you can invest your time, in fact, you have to invest on other things where you can bring the value to the business. Where I do work on Mongo and Postgres, SQL, MySQL also a little, and AWS and Azure. So I do work on these many things to sustain. I have 14 years of experience. I need to make myself versatile. So this kind of requirements is built out just after the implementation only. So that's see nowadays people are posting the requirements in the market with the multiple profiles, multiple require skill set from one person. That's what that happened just because of the cloud only. The reason being is Benefits in corporate data center includes reduced network latency for application, easy of upgradation software, it's upgradation of hardware and software. So you have to upgrade your infrastructure time to time. You have to upgrade software also to get the new features loaded for the customers what they wanted. All has to be done. So when you upgrade in terms of hardware and you upgrade in terms of software also, you need to have another server to migrate and operate from there. So you need to double invest. If it is on-prem, it is cloud, no need. Just to create a new machine, migrate everything, destroy the old one. You don't worry about that at all. If it is a just on-prem, if it is a server is outdated, you don't need it. You have to give it to scrap vendor. You have to pay it to the scrap vendor to scrap it securely. I mean, they should not. They should give it to the only authorized people who scrap that without exposing that devices. They can recover. There are many recovery softwares. So data can be recovered from the old hardwares, right? So that should not happen. So they have to give it to the authorized vendors. They can destroy it absolutely with the 100% integrity. So that's why. So down the line, cloud is definitely will help. Speedy deliver, like speed can be in terms of application, like data inputs, as well as it can be delivering the services on demand, on the fly. In fact, you don't have to wait for anyone to get the infrastructure. Infrastructure is already ready. You just go and in the cloud, in the portal, you just select what you wanted sizes, what operating system you wanted. You can just spin off in maximum of 5 minutes. Whatever the size of the VM, it doesn't matter, maximum of 5 minutes. And once it comes online, absolutely you install what you wanted and give it to the business. So it's not taking time to give the deliverables. In fact, nowadays, because of the cloud implementation, you don't have to follow the procurement team or account team or following with the vendor. All that is a time taking process if you really need a server on demand and quickly basis. So the cloud made a easy thing on that side. Agility in provisioning of computing resources through self-service on demand uh, features enable flexibility and depressurized capacity planning. See, in every company they have to maintain 30% of the infrastructure as a buffer. Why it is so? They don't know how much of demand they are going to receive, right? They have to maintain 30% at least free all the time. So this 30%, they have to make sure that it is free. In fact, it is free all the time. Why it is so? Because you have a disk and it is about to fill. You have to expand it. What from where? From 30% free disk space only you allocate it. So this must be time to time evaluated, and they have to buy the new hardware devices all the time, right? So this must be evaluated time to time. If not, they will run out of the resources. Then that will be outage on the infrastructure side. That should not happen. If it is a cloud, you don't have to do. You just give the numbers and apply. That's it. It will scale up to that point automatically. You don't have to do any capacity planning if you are operating in the cloud. You just give the numbers and save it. It'll absolutely accept it. Okay. So you don't have to do pre-planning on your infrastructure size, and then you don't need to monitor time to time. You absolutely free to expand at any point of time with a single click, with one restart almost, right? So then enhanced productivity. Enhanced productivity is also like you are you don't need to do a lot of things. In fact, on the infrastructure side, you don't need to protect your networks, you don't need to protect your disk storages and all that. That is done by the Microsoft itself. You don't need to maintain all data center activities that I said in the beginning, licensing and all that. So the cloud will maintain it for you. In fact, so this kind of services are actually really impressing the people to subscribe. In fact, right? So enhance productivity, remove the need of racking, stacking, hardware setup. So if it is a VM, you can ask even patch your Windows server to the Microsoft. They'll do the patching of your server also. You can create a VM replication. You can create always on. You can create your own technology to protect your data. But one thing is, if it is a VM, disk is corrupted. They don't support. I mean, your data is gone. It is like on-prem itself. You're creating a VM and you don't have any DR defined on it. Your disk is corrupted. Microsoft will not do anything. It is a hardware. It can corrupt. So you have to protect it in terms of technology. So whatever is critical for you, you have to protect with always on. You have to protect with you or any database technology, lock shipping, mirroring, or anything. Or you have to have a VM replication, VM to VM entire replication. In fact, one region VM is gone, other VM in another region will automatically pick it up the data actually. So how that happens, we're going to see that. In fact, okay. So when you don't have too much of work, you can spend your time on other technology. That is what I was stressing out. When you can actually have a time, you definitely have to spend the time another way, another areas, to gain your expand your skill set, to support to the business on whatever the direction the company is actually growing out, right? So it is enhancing the employee productivity, as well as they don't need to take the headache, company don't need to take the headache of data center, the points whatever we discussed actually, right? So that must be uh, something is a huge benefit to the companies. In fact, reliability, this is the biggest word, especially reliability in terms of recovery of the data, the reliability in terms of security. Two things must be absolutely given to you, so that the data whatever is given to third party, they will feel safe. Whoever is given, it has to have a proper recoveries, and it has to have 100% protection. Yes, cloud is 100% protected. See, when the market was actually attacked by the WannaCry, that was one of the attack was done around the world. Almost a lot of people are impacted, but the cloud services never got actually hacked out so far, because they have such level of protection on the infrastructure. You create a database, it will encrypt automatically. You create a VM and disk will encrypt automatically. Everything is encrypted. Even someone is taking the data, due to some hacking, they cannot see anything at all. It is fully encrypted, and the keys are absolutely not with them. Okay, so cloud is 100% safe in terms of security. They are maintaining everything whatever the possible thing they wanted, but only bad thing can happen is you are allowing some bad networks to enter into your infrastructure, your server network. So that can happen, but other than that, your network is absolutely controlled. No one can enter into your infrastructure unless until you authorize them. How you authorize them? We can do that. I'm going to show that how we can create the rule set, to block it, to open it, all that. Okay, if it is a database, in fact, what happens? So database side, we have it is a pass model, assume a case. If I create a pass database, if I create a pass database, one database, it maintain two copies automatically. You don't have to ask this architecture, and it will take automatic backup. You cannot configure, you cannot change the backup schedules, you cannot even see it. All that happens in the background. What are the schedules? We're going to talk about that. But here you need to understand, it will take continuous backup, it will maintain a copy here in the local, and one more copy it will maintain in another region automatically. This is a minimum architecture given by the Microsoft. It is a pass, continuous backup, and here it will copy, here it will copy. So here, this is a DB what you created, but it happened, two copies and three backups that you have in the background. So why they're maintaining three copies? In fact, here it is your data is protected by, what is percentage? 99.79. Total 9 nines, your data is protected in the pass model, which is close to zero, close to zero. So you have a zero corruption in the pass model, absolutely no corruption. How they can give the guarantee? In fact, so you create a live database, it'll actually replicate your data to other databases in the background where you don't have any visibility to this. When a segment is corrupted, this will do the checksum, continuous checksum, one copy to other copy, does a checksum, verification of validity of the data. If any segment is corrupted, the healthy copy will come and repair automatically the corrupted copy. And end user, as end user, does not know that this got corrupted and it got repaired. You see your data 100% all the time. There is no corruption. Data is protected, you have 100% recovery if it is a pass model. If it is a VM model, you have given a like protections, you have given a technologies. In fact, you have been given with always on, loss shipping, mirroring, or VM replication, or what is the technology you implement it to protect it, the critical databases. In fact, if it is a VM model, so if you don't protect it, then definitely you will choose there is a chance of data loss in case of disk corruptions. So Microsoft also have physical infrastructure somewhere, it can corrupt. It is a device, it is electronic device, it can corrupt at any point of time. So if it is a critical, you definitely have to have your DR designed properly so that it can be protected. So your data is safe, your security wise, the data is safe in the sense you have 100% recoveries in all directions. In fact, it is been given, and there is a service which will take the backup from the VM, SQL VM, also SQL Server VM, automatically, and then you have one single click, it does the entire recovery up to the point. The third party tools are not required. Microsoft itself has a good service which will better than 100% better than the third-party tools to protect the VM SQL Server backups. We're going to talk about that with the best options. We're going to explore in detail on that side anyway. So what I wanted to conclude here is, if you are implementing cloud, your data is absolutely safe in terms of recovery. You are secured enough with all the encryptions that the infrastructure that you are placing in the cloud. No one can encrypt the data, decrypt the data, because the key is never exposed, even to us also. If I create a VM, all the disks are encrypted, and even as I'm the owner of the server, I cannot even know the keys what they placed. So that's secret it is. So no one can decrypt the data unless until they have the key. But if they get the access to the SQL server directly, that's a different level of story. I mean, the encryption apply to underlying hardware and the disk. In fact, if it is comes through the disk through the product, it is a plain text data, so people can easily take the data. That access you need to control. So security model on the networking side is shared responsibility. They have their all the default block everywhere. You have to allow whom you need to allow into your infrastructure. So when you are allowing someone, you definitely have to have that 100% idea and block them from whatever the access they should not do. So some IPs are allowed, but what they can also matters in the infrastructure. The level of access the people have it once you get into the access into the infrastructure. Next, why we need to learn Azure first thing. So what are the different technologies? We do have Microsoft, AWS, and Google Compute. In fact, when we have these many, technologies, like we have many other small vendors also, why we need to go to the Azure? That's the question you should ask. In fact, see, SQL Server is from the Microsoft, and Windows Server is also from the Microsoft, and these products are actually more compatible on the Azure side than AWS. Even I do work on the AWS also. So when you have to migrate, when you have to do the like SQL is, they made a lot of easiest services for us in the, especially in the Azure side, not in the AWS. AWS is also good, but there are many management things are goes with the third party services. If I wanted to migrate a server from on-prem to cloud, I have to go through the story account. Story account cannot be directly accessed through the VM to the SQL server. You have to dump it to the VM and then restore. If it is Azure, you don't have to do. You have to go to the third party software, or you have to run some storage gateway to pull the data from S3 gateway to VM. There is an intermediate software involved. There are many softwares people are involved, in fact, in the data transfers within the cloud itself. Third party software is required. That is not straightforward. In fact, if it is Azure, you would load into story account, directly load into SQL Server anywhere. It is a managed instance, it is a VM. You can straight away access it. Even from the on-prem SQL also, you can directly straight away put your data into Azure Blob. Even AWS also can place it, but when your migration happens, it's not like that is as Azure compared to if you go to the AWS and Azure. Azure is easy. That's how the Microsoft people actually buy the get the market. They make the product easy for anyone. They make the user friendly products all the time, so that people can easily adapt and work. When the people are easily available, the implementation also can happen. When things are tough, you get the less resources. When you have less resources, who will maintain? Even if it is a good technology, someone need to be there around, right, to support the technology. That's what. So Microsoft make the user friendly products all the time. Okay, this is something good and easy to learn, and man, anybody can learn and then support. That is another big advantage that we have it. Rapid growth in cloud computing. If you look at, guys, I wanted to show one thing. Azure is 5 times less than AWS, where it is clearly mentioned on the official website. See, organization on the overall see here what they said. Here it is, right? AWS is 5 times more expensive than Azure for Windows Server and SQL. See, on the official website, they announced clearly AWS is 5 times expensive. When 5 times expensive, who really know this? Who will definitely go to the AWS? They definitely come to the Azure only. 5 times. See here, they have shown the symbol also. You can see that 5 bundles to one bundle. In fact, that much money they can save with the Azure, because they are giving the hybrid benefits. They are giving the if you are blocking the VM for 3 years, they are giving 62% discount straight away, 62% on the VM cost. So deeper discounts than AWS, because their product and their softwares and even the licensing, they can reduce it as a hybrid benefit. You are already a client on on-prem, you're coming to the Azure cloud, use the same license in the cloud, so that it is extensive, like licensing key, so it will take the hybrid benefits automatically, and your bill come down by 33% to 50%, depends on the amount of resources you are using in the Azure cloud. So this is something definitely, as a SQL DBA, as a SQL infrastructure, we definitely have to recommend the Azure than not the AWS. Maybe AWS is there in the market. Some in olden days they implemented it. Still they're sticking on it. But when I joined my project, guys, we had AWS, too much of AWS. Then we migrated all of almost data to Azure now. AWS also we still have very less footprint compared to Azure. Most of the services we moved from the AWS to Azure already, but still we have a little bit of footprint, 5%. For 60% we have in the Azure, 5% in the AWS, and 30 to 30, 35 plus in the on-prem. That kind of infrastructure we have it. So why the Azure is getting so much implemented for, especially for the SQL service, because of it is a same vendor, and they can give the better discounts. They can give the better support than the AWS. In fact, AWS doesn't own that product. If it crashed out, if it happens something, and if you raise a case, people will ask you. Whoever comes in to support more, they'll ask sometimes questions to us that I have seen. So the expertise are with the Microsoft on the SQL end. So that's why you have to come to the Azure. And compared to AWS, Azure is a topmost leader in terms of infrastructure as of now. They already surpassed the entire compared to AWS. The Azure infrastructure is far ahead right now, far ahead. They have too much of infrastructure on the cloud front compared to AWS. AWS is very old technology. I mean, it is implemented in 2006, in fact. But Azure started 2010. It got a response from 2010. It was there before that also, but no one implemented because it has a lot of issues. Even when I started my career, there were a lot of issues. They actually improved a lot. It used to server used to shut down all of a sudden, and you don't have any control to start the server. You have to raise a case and launch a bridge and bring them and talk to them, get it online. Sometimes it takes a day also. Big outages I've seen, very big outages initial days, but now absolutely things are stabilized, and they have the infrastructure on the globe almost than even better than AWS footprint as of now. So that's how, when it is getting a wide implementation, get the good customers. That's the main thing. The biggest sell-off for the Microsoft is cost effective compared to other competitors. Any service, there are few services that can be more costlier in Azure, cheaper in AWS, and some services costlier in AWS and cheaper in Azure. That happens. I mean, the services which are not from the Microsoft are some services which are very premium in nature. That can be varying thing will be there, but on very few softwares it happens, not on all. Right. What are the certifications you can do after this course? That's another big question everybody would have in their mind. So I'm going to cover SQL runs on top of the infrastructure. And when it is platform integrated, you need to know the platform first, right? Without knowing the platform, if you're stuck with the platform, you will be blank. You don't know where to initiate the discussion, in fact. That's why I'll cover entire infrastructure, what level of knowledge we need to have in terms of VM, best standards, implementations, automations towards VM, and networking. How networking can open the communication, block the communication, how I can open a database connections between the servers at the network layer, if it is there or not, how do I verify it? Basically, all that I'm going to cover in 4 classes. Then storage, how we can migrate, and what are the different types of storage accounts we do have within the Azure cloud, and what are the ways to automate to take the backup from on-prem to cloud, cloud to on-prem, in all directions using the storage account. So the infrastructure side, we're going to cover VMs administration, networking, and the storage. These are all 3 things we need to have as a SQL DB into our profile to have a better troubleshooting power. So that's the reason I'll cover roughly 11 classes on the infrastructure side. Then we'll enter into product side. More weightage, 70% of the classes goes towards the product. 30% will go towards platform. Because if I start the product directly, you don't understand for sure. Because the integration, how it works, first let's understand that side, then we'll enter into the product side. Okay. Okay, for that, you can take AG 104 after this course. Many people got passed. This our course covers roughly 60% of the syllabus of AG 104, which is infrastructure administrator. It's for the Windows people especially. So as a DBA, this is what we need to do. DP 300, database designing and implementing cloud data platform solutions. This is what you have to take the exam. So this will be covered very extensively. In fact, I have the dumps. I'm going to give all the dumps to take the exam anyway. And but anyway, dumps will keep changing it. So there are theoretical things where you need to go through some dumps for sure. Practically, anyway, our class is absolutely sufficient, but there are few questions are theoretical in nature. There you definitely have to focus on the dumps, at least question pattern. How do you get where to focus and all that? You'll get a idea basically. Okay, so what kind of things are we going to cover? Just quickly, if I wanted to go through the course syllabus, let me show that basically. Designed this course into 10 modules, in fact. So how do you create it? Next introduction to Azure is over. Just why we need a Azure cloud, not only Azure cloud. First we discussed all the benefits that the people are getting, right? The benefits, the major benefits people are getting, the cost first, then they're getting the global scale easy, and performance levels are very important for any application, and speed of delivery and enhancing the productivity of the employees because they're not doing much, and the reliability. These are the major factors. People are these factors are driving the people enter into the cloud, in fact, nowadays, right? So, and creation of free Azure account. How do you create your free account, and how we can take the services from the free account? What kind of services we can take it? Consumer, that is the next class, in fact. And what are the things we need to know to operate from the cloud? As the DB, okay, you have given access to the portal. So what are the things you need to know? What are the tabs you have it, and how do you do the entire administration in one class? I'll talk about this one. Implementing virtual machines, and how do you manage the networking, app services also, we'll see that once, for the load balancing and all that, planning, storage, backup, recoveries, how we can recover all that. And this is a major module for us, module 8, planning and implementing Azure SQL database. It covers almost all what we do in on-prem. Okay, the entire list of activities I listed. I shared this syllabus with already all of you, right? So Azure Active Directory, this is another biggest topic for us. Why? Because how does accounts integration happen in the cloud? Like VMs will support on-prem Active Directory, but PaaS services does not support the on-prem Active Directory. You definitely have to go to the cloud Active Directory. Only it integrates with the cloud Azure Active Directory, in fact. So how do you manage the accounts there? This is one of the interesting topic for us towards the product anyway. And automations, 5 different types of automations we're going to talk about. Runbook automation we will talk about, and we will talk about uh, Elastic Agent jobs. We're going to talk about Azure app. We have Azure apps where we can migrate the jobs to easily there, and we're going to talk about on-prem SQL agent. There are 4 or 5 automation methods, guys. I'm going to talk about in detail of it. That is something is going to help you out to easy your job anyway. When you have to automate something, you have things already readily. And how do you automate? There are many ways to automate it. So that will go and trigger in the cloud automatically. So how does that integration automation can happen? We will see in practical end to end. Don't worry. Subject wise, you don't have to worry, guys, because I'm working since very long. You have any question, you can raise it. You don't need to keep quiet. Ask all your questions then and there. I'll try to answer your question then and there itself and move on. Okay, it's not one way traffic. Let's keep it two-way traffic. When you have a question, when you're absolutely understanding, you're good enough, then it's okay. But if you have a question, please raise your question at any time. I'm okay to discuss a question. No one is behind me. I mean, you finish this course within these days, kind of. It's my own, so I can take 4 or 5 classes extra also if required, if our discussions are extending it. It's not just finishing the course, it's about finishing the content, and you need to work in real time after this. That's the main agenda for me, because I'm working person. I know what to be discussed to know which will help you out. The migrations are very important for us, and that is extensive. I mean, cloud migrations, how do you do it? How do you manage is something we will run a lot of classes anyway, but migrations are important. There we're going to focus a lot anyway. So any questions from anyone? I'm done with the demo. And anyone want to ask anything, please come up. I mean, you can ask your questions now, else I'll stop the video and stay back. Anyone have question? Any question? Rohan?
No, Ravi, no question from.
Yeah. So no
Yeah,
question. Just stay back. Yeah, go ahead, please.
yeah, yeah. Omar, one question. Actually, any means cloud data means modeling will do or not in our course? Like
Modeling in the
suppose
sense.
SQL Server means what are the table, how can you do this, all the means in cloud level, cloud data model.
See, data model is everywhere same. You get a plain blank database. Model you
Mm.
design what relations you wanted, what constraints you wanted to keep. It's your job as a like it's a like on-prem. That's not done by the Microsoft. It's just a database.
Any
Whatever you keep
difference
it,
on premises and cloud data model or both are same?
they both are same. Absolutely. See, when you're given a database, empty database, whatever you do data modeling on on-prem, you do in the cloud all same. Like it's your job. What you wanted to keep in what relations, what constraints. It's again the business model. So it is done by the like on-prem only. There is no difference in it.
Okay, okay. Sometimes people are asking now, what are the challenges you face of a SQL Server DB to moving to on-premises to cloud?
Mm. It is like a
Right.
structure and all you have to work
Mhm.
on. Just a plain blank database. Whatever is there, that is protected and taken with all the standards. But what you are going to put is your responsibility. How you wanted to put is also our responsibility.
But all the permissions, all the things will migrated from
Yeah,
on-premises to cloud.
no.
Mm.
That we're going to talk about. That is comes under migration discussion. There are many different ways to manage the same thing in the cloud, but in a different way.
In our course, that thing, right?
Yes,
Migration
sir.
and
Yes. That is a major agenda, right? Generally.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
another thing, any good example of this IAS and like you told that SAS is Google and Gmail. Similarly, and this PAS and IAS, any good example, real-time example.
See, you have a SQL Server. In the past model, you can only run with it to the 19. You don't have a choice. You cannot choose the version. Your application is compatible only to the 16, not 19. You cannot go to the
Hmm.
PAS. You have to go to the IAS model only because you have to build and install only to the 16 and migrate it because your application currently widely deployed towards application side. They cannot change the code. So you have to go to 2016, then you have to go to the VM only, not to the PAS.
Okay,
There are
okay.
many
Means
ways of change.
installation and all the things will do in IAS model, yeah, if
Yeah, I
required.
mean, there are many things we will talk about. You don't
Hmm.
understand because there are many dependencies we're going to discuss. We are at the
Yeah, yeah.
beginning, so there
Okay,
are
okay.
many dependencies still there around. That dependency you don't understand if I start talk now. So when the course winds up, then I'll differentiate when to go to the past, when to go to the VM model. When the services we discuss, you get to know 100% idea where to go, kind of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone else? Any other question, please? If not, stay back. I'll stop the recording and we'll talk.